and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And today I'm going to be talking about the books that I am planning on reading in the month of October. It is so cold today, guys. I've got a jumper on, my hands are freezing. David's currently trying to get the heat into work. Hope it's working. But today I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm reading in the month of October. I'll start with a book that isn't yet in my hands, but will be on the 30th of October, because that is the day that it comes out, and that is the day that I'm pumped for. It is the second book in the Nevermore series. It's called Wundersmith, The Calling of Morrigan by Jessica Townsend. Oh God, I read the first book in the Nevermore series in September. Absolutely loved it. Like, one of the best books that I've read, not just this year, but ever. Absolutely, like, can't stop thinking about it. Just want the next one here so keenly. It's not out until the 30th of October, but I will definitely be starting it on the 30th of October because I'm just loving it. So I just loved the first one so much. So it follows Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child, and she's cursed to die on her 13th birthday. Might be her 11th birthday, on an early birthday. And on the night of her birthday, a chap called Jupiter North turns up and whisks her away to another land, where she competes in a series of trials to become part of the Wondrous Society. So I don't want to tell you where it ends, because that's all the joy of the first book. But the second book picks off, obviously, where the first book ends, and yeah, and it's I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited. So that is the first book that I'm excited about. But let's get on with the rest of the books. There are a few books that I don't have here with me, but I will be chatting about them and inserting little photos of them now. So something that is happening in October, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I joined in with last year, and that is the Gothic read along hosted by Jenny King over on GoodReads. I will link the GoodReads link down below, where she reads a host of Gothic books throughout the month of October. It's basically one book a week, and then a book that you can read for the whole month. I'm going to be taking part with two of those. The first one being The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. This is the book that you can read throughout October. It's a poetry book. I know nothing of it apart from that Simpsons episode where they refer to The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. So that is something that I will be reading. And then I'm also going to be reading in the first week of October, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is a Penguin cloth-bound classic edition. They're amazing. They're just so lovely. They're all designed by Coralie Bickford Smith. I've got a whole host of them, and I think they're wonderful. I've read this edition of Frankenstein once before, so I'm looking forward to getting into something a bit gothic-y and spooky again. So yeah, looking forward to that. So that is a book that I will be reading. I will also, like, in keeping, because it's going to be like definitely autumn by October, I am going to be reading quite a host of autumnal books. So the first one I want to continue with, so I feel like this is the autumnal author of choice, Sarah Waters, The Night Watch. Now, I've read a few Sarah Waters books this year, listened to an audio book of The Little Stranger. I've read The Paying Guests, and this will be my third one that I've read this year. This is I quite like the way it's set out. So this is told it's set in the 1940s, and it's told from 4 Londoners' point of view, and you work backwards. So you start in 1947, and then the next part of the book is in 1944, I believe, and then I think the first bit's in 1941. And you hear it's all to do with the war, and the four people it follows are Kay, Helen, Viv, and Duncan. And it says moving backwards through the 1940s, through air raids, blacked out streets, illicit liaisons and sexual adventure, to end with its beginning in 1941. This is an astonishing novel. So yeah, looking forward to this. And also, in the grand scheme of Sarah Waters things, I feel like I haven't heard that much about Night Watch. So looking forward to getting to that. The next one I've got is one that isn't out until the 4th of October, and I've got the proof copy of it here, and I am so excited to read it, because I listened to the audiobook of his first novel and thought it was wonderful. It was narrated by the author. This is A Keeper by Graham Norton. I love that. I mean, this is autumnal, isn't it? Just to look at it, the colour is autumnal. It's got autumnal trees with like fruit and leaves and stuff on there, and by Graham Norton, who is also a chat show host and somebody I'm very fond of. He is in my favourite episodes of Father Ted. He's probably my favourite character in Father Ted. He's just so enthusiastic enthusiastic. And this tells the story of Elizabeth Keane, who is returning to Ireland after her mother's death. Graham Norton is Irish, and as you may know, I enjoy books set in Ireland and that have Irish characters in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to this. It's talking about now when Elizabeth Keane is in Ireland, but it's also talking about 40 years earlier, when a young woman stumbles from a remote stone house, the night quiet but for the tireless wind that circles her as she hurries further into the darkness away from the cliffs and the sea. She has no sense of where she's going, only that she must keep on. So yes, very much looking forward to get into some more further Graham Norton. Then I've got 2 Kate Atkinson books that I would like to read in the month of October. The first one is Transcription. It's Kate Atkinson's new book. I haven't decided whether I'm going to listen to it on Audible or whether I am going to buy it and read it. I have enjoyed Kate Atkinson books in both ways, both by reading and by listening on audiobook. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I'm very, very excited. I've heard her interviewed about her new book on Women's Hour, and I'm just really, really excited about it. It's about spies in World War I or II, I can't remember, about a woman who works transcribing phone calls that she's listening into. So yeah, it feels very, very exciting. I just love her, like the way she builds characters and feeling and setting. I just think she's absolutely fantastic and amazing. And the second book is a book that I was supposed to read potentially in August, or not in September, but maybe in August or before that, and that is A God in Ruins. I have read Life After Life and listened to the audiobook of Life After Life this year, and this is a sort of like, it runs alongside Life After Life. So in Life After Life you follow a character called Ursula, and you follow her life if she was to make different decisions. So basically, like, or if things were to work differently in her life. So you start from when she's a baby, and when she's born, there's a massive snowstorm and the doctor doesn't get to her mother in time, so Ursula dies instantly. And then the next time the doctor does get to the mother inside, but later on her brother throws a dolly out the window and she goes in after the dolly and dies when she falls out the window. But what happens if her brother didn't throw the dolly out the window, and etc, etc. This follows Teddy, who is Ursula's brother. Now, as far as I know, this runs alongside, and Teddy does not have the same it's not told in the same way that Ursula's story was. So there's no sort of like when Teddy dies, or what happens if he hadn't have died at that time, etc. I believe it's just a linear time telling of his life. I might be wrong, but that's the vibe I've got when talking to other people about it. Teddy was a very a great character in Life After Life, and I'm very looking forward to getting more into his life. And I just feel like I talk about this book so much on the bloody channel. All I'm ever doing is that I'm talking about, oh, I'm going to read this, I'm going to read this soon, and I never get around to it. So this is definitely something that I will be reading in October. Cross my heart. Cross my heart. And then I will also be reading, because I feel like this screams autumn, and also it's got a character called September in it, so that's even more autumnal. This is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente. And as I said, it follows a girl called September. She's 12 years old and she's from Omaha, and she is very bored, lonely and stuck in a rut. So when a green wind arrives at her window and invites her to Fairyland, she accepts in a flash, and she meets a friend called Saturday, and she needs to save Fairyland. I bought this many years ago to read for Genrethon. Do you remember Genrethon back in the day? And didn't get round to reading it, and it's just sort of sat on my shelf, just not really doing much until then. And yeah, I just feel like this is a very good autumnal read, and will be interested to read that. And then the last one I'm going to read, so I was listening to Lauren and Jean talk about Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, which I think I've got, but I'm going to listen to on Audible audiobook this month, because that sounds amazing. That is a sort of fictional version of Jeanette Winterson's life, living in Accrington in the 80s, and that, when I heard Lauren and Jean talking about it, I was like, bloody hell, I'll be well into reading that. So I'm going to definitely listen to the audiobook of that. And then I've recently picked up from a charity shop for a mere 50 pence, Jeanette Winterson's memoir, Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, which tells of the same time but with the facts rather than the sort of fictionalized version of her life. What I really enjoyed, like, listen to this second paragraph they talk about on the back of the book. It says, so it's talking about Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, and then it says, this book is that story's silent twin. It's full of hurt and humour and a fierce love of life. It's about the pursuit of happiness, about lessons in love, the search for a mother, and a journey into madness and out again. It is generous, honest and true. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like I don't often get to read two books together that would match so well together than these two books. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to reading that. And then after all that, that was the only non-fiction that I picked up. So I was like, there is more. I would like to read some more non-fiction. I always like to have a non-fiction and a fiction book on the go at the same time. And as you can see, we're quite heavy on the old fiction there. So I picked up 2 more books from my shelves that I've been meaning to read, one for quite a while. This is one that I have recently received. This is called What Would Boudicca Do by E. Foley and B. Coates. I love the front cover of this. This is advice and sort of stories for modern women told from historical female figures. So for example, Boudicca. Let's read some more, and it like sort of relates to things that are happening in today's society. So for instance, Emily Dickinson and defying FOMO, Cleopatra and keeping your family in line, Josephine Baker and having it all, Queen Victoria and getting over loss, Mary Seacole and aging disgracefully, Coco Chanel and killing it at work. So I just feel like this feels quite fun. I feel like this is being really marketed as like a Christmas book that women would enjoy. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing if it is a Christmas book that I, as a woman, would enjoy. So that one. And then the last book that I've got, non-fiction, again, is one that I've been meaning to read, and I've heard wonderful things about the audiobook, and I actually own the book. So I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to listen to the audiobook because I own the book and I do want to get round to reading the book. And that is Educated by Tara Westover. So this is Tara Westover's memoir, talking about herself being brought up by her father, who was preparing her for the end of days. And yeah, her father became more and more radical, and her brother, who she has, become very violent, and at the age of 16 Tara decides to educate herself. So yeah, it's supposed to be fantastic. I've only heard good things about it, so I feel I'm very much looking forward to reading that. So those are the books that I'm planning on reading in the month of October. What books are you guys planning on reading in the month of October? Have you read any of these books that I've mentioned? Are you excited about the second Nevermore book coming out? Because I am. I don't even need to say, I don't even need to embellish that, because the bottom line is I am excited for it. Yeah, so let me know how you feel about these books, what you are planning on reading in the month of October. Hope your autumns are going lovely, and I will see you all again soon for another booktube video. Goodbye!